And I'm James.
And this is Trash Talk and Tall Tales. We upload on YouTube and Spotify every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. James, I hear you have a topic for us.
Yeah, I want to talk to you today about standards in relationships. And I'm not talking about like your usual standards, like you want somebody to treat you right, you want somebody who, answer your calls and stuff like that. I'm talking about more rigid standards that we have. I'll give you an example. There were some Instagram posts one year where women had the standard they wanted somebody to make $100,000 a year.
Kevin
You remember
Samuels.
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
The sixes basically is what we're going to call that.
Okay.
So do you happen to have any standards when it comes to relationships?
Well, before I say that, what were the sixes again?
Six figures. You got to make six figures a year.
Okay. Okay.
6 feet tall
Okay.
and 6 inches.
All right. All right. As far as my standards that are not common, I mean, of course, the normal are communication, trustworthy, honesty, willing to spend time. I suppose if I had to take a shot in the dark, someone who's not boring.
Okay.
Someone who's willing to go on an adventure at 3 o'clock in the morning, or I don't ask for much, but I really don't have any wild standards like that. Not that I can think of. Do you have
Have any
anything-
standards?
Well, no. That's a topic for another day. But no, just give me an example of a wild standard that I might not have that other men do have.
Well, actually, the whole premise of this was going to be how I think standards sometimes keeps us from getting with people that may be actually good fits for us. Because I think that you actually, whenever you hear someone talk about they check all the boxes, I think really you're liking or you're falling in love with whatever those boxes are and not that particular person. What
And
makes
I'm sure
that
boxes
person
can change.
Oh,
people
for sure.
change. So
For sure.
yeah.
But I think really our standards need to be basically, basic standards, like you said, treating you well and things of that nature. Whenever we're talking about people, though, I believe you really need to love and like that person and whatever comes with that. I think we've had this conversation
Honestly,
before.
and like is just as important as love is.
I agree. A lot of times I tell people, though, I don't have time for likes. You got to love me. Because if you like me, you're gonna try to do me dirty. If you love me, you may not, or at least you'll think about it twice. So whenever, talking back in context what the subject is, I just think whenever we do have these checklists that we got to go through before we, end up being serious with somebody or we even date them casually, I think that just ruins the connection that you could have because you're looking more at these boxes than you are that actual person and what they can bring to the table. And
Okay,
not
well,
everything is materialistic. Not
No, of course
everything
not.
is, personality wise and everything like that. I know you have to mesh personality wise, but whenever you're talking to somebody, you need to understand that person fully inside and out. I think these conditions that we have or these standards that we have don't allow you to do that.
But what as far as men is concerned, because I know Kevin Samuels talked to a lot of females, and they were talking about I've never heard of it called the sixes before, but I can't think of what men ask for standards, maybe other than beauty standards. What off the wall standards could they be asking for?
And beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Of course, it
So
always is.
that doesn't really matter. I think what the point he was trying to get across is men don't really have standards when it comes to women. I think they more than likely just accept the woman as who she is and not so
can see
much
that.
what she can bring to the table.
I can see that.
Because really if you think about it, in the traditional sense, the man's always been the provider most of the time. Now that's switching or changing because there's more women that go to college. More women are getting their degrees. More women are making more money, in the workplace, and they're moving up quickly in the ranks to get these promotions and whatnot. But for a man, that doesn't matter most of the time. A man, you see athletes all the time. They'll marry somebody who's a waitress, and not saying anything's wrong with those professions or whatnot, but it's not, for the man, it's not so much what you can bring to the table. The man more than likely is going to try to prepare the table. Yes,
how she
exactly.
Makes him feel. Yeah, I can see how females can be more materialistic than men can be, of course. Because, I mean, I heard a comedian once say that when women ask about a new boyfriend, they always ask, what does he do? And when men ask their male friends, what does she look like? So we can be more outwardly concerned, and the women can be more monetarily concerned.
Yeah, and we're not trying to bash on women here, but
No,
there
not at all.
is
Not
a
at all.
difference whenever it comes to who we pick as mates. Whenever we're going out as a guy and talking to women, the first thing that does attract us is their beauty. And sometimes it can be their femininity as well. Like, is she feminine and not, masculine? And that's a whole nother subject for another day. But I think as long as that person makes a man feel like he is a man and makes him feel comfortable wherever he's at, I think everything else for the man will fall in place to where, like I said, those rigid standards that some people have really won't matter.
I can see that. I mean, if everything else is equal, I can totally see that.
Now, like I said before, would you have to have a standard to go out with a woman? Like, does she have to have her own car? Does she have to have her own place? Does she have to have any of those materialistic things for you to?
Which is crazy. It's all about how she treats me. It's all about how she treats me. Honestly, if she treated me well and she worked at Arby's, it would not matter.
And nothing's wrong with Arby's. Let's just get that out the way.
Absolutely, nothing's wrong with Arby's. But that's crazy that it does not matter what she did for a living as long as she was good to me.
Exactly.
But
and the thing is,
on the other hand,
please,
like you say,
please.
On the other hand, women are absolutely different. I mean, if a man worked at Arby's, what was that song back in the 90s? Biggie, Biz Markie.
No Scrubs?
No, this is Biz Markie when she said something about UPS.
I don't remember that. No.
Anyways, it was basically a song about, I think it was called The Vapors. How she was basically saying that, he didn't have any money, so no, she wouldn't go out with him because he worked at UPS.
Which is crazy to me, because just because a person works somewhere does not define that person.
Well, they work. That's the
That's
main
one,
thing.
they work. Two, you got to look at it like this too. Not everybody's situations in life are the same.
Yeah.
There's plenty, and we're, 40s and 50s, whatnot. So we're looking at people who are maybe divorced, maybe they had to start all over. Maybe they're starting new careers at this point. So it's just funny to me that, being in the dating world now, most of the time, whenever you talk to a lot of these women out here, they want you to have X, Y, and Z in place. And you see it on bios all the time. I take care of my own stuff. I want a man that can do the same. And I'm just like, that's cool.
But that's not asking for too much.
No, I'm not saying it's asking for too much, but also that kind of lets me know that maybe you're not as warm as you could be.
I honestly, I think differently from you, respectfully. I think
Usually,
I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with a woman wanting a man, and I'm not going to say I'll say established. A man who's established. Okay, and I'm going to roll it back a couple of notches. If he's not established and he's out there hustling, I don't see anything wrong with a woman wanting that. I mean, we've had this conversation about kept man, There's nothing wrong with a woman wanting someone about his business. That's just
Now
me.
that, but that's the thing. Is it really about his business, or is it really about his heart? Is it really about his drive and his motivation? Because just because somebody out here doesn't have X, Y, and Z doesn't mean they don't go to work every day. Doesn't mean they're not a hard worker. It doesn't mean that
True.
they are not trying to do everything they need to do to keep whatever they got on and going. I think,
No,
like I
I'm
said,
talking about the women who are trying to whittle down the potentials that don't want to go out there and work, the ones that don't want to actually go out there and do something positive with their lives. That's what they're trying to whittle down. Now,
well, I understand that.
I'm not talking about the ones who want six and six. I'm not talking about them. You know, because I remember seeing an interview he did where she said that she wanted her man to make 300,000 minimum, and I wish I could show you the video. And I'm like, "Yeah, there's no way that she's gonna get that. And I'm not trying to insult anyone.
We know.
But there's no way, no way. Anyways,
Well, like I said, I just feel like if we go by these standards that we have for people, then we're not actually going to get to know the person. And really, to tell you the truth, in this day and age, some people are with people just because of what they do have. Well, I'll be with this guy or I'll be with this girl because she has a BMW or she has a house or she has this, that, and other. Like I said, for me, I don't look at those types of things. I just look at the person. Like I said, we're all at different
but you're
stages.
also a man, though. But you're
True.
also a man.
True. Well, I also believe in 100%, 100%. So if I'm putting in my 100%, you also need to put in your 100%. And that goes with even working. Like, as long as you're working somewhere and you want to do something, that's good enough for me. You know, I don't have to you have to make $75,000 a year for me to, talk to you. Like I
think,
said,
honestly, the majority of men are that way.
I believe so. Now, would you think that a majority of women are the same way?
Ooh, I'm not sure. I don't know what the statistics are on that. But I would think that if I had to take a shot in the dark, that the majority of women would want an established man as opposed to a struggling man.
Or someone that's up and coming?
A high majority would probably want, an established man versus a struggling man.
And that's
I mean,
funny
I
to
could-
me because to me, you're not being able to see that potential in that person because that
Well,
person who is,
Women are tired. Women are tired. I'm sure a lot of women are out there who've given the man a chance, who had dreams of grandeur and fell short every time. Women are tired. Just like men are tired. But
I
I'm
mean-
sure women are a lot more tired than men are. Because there's a lot of men out there who have a silver tongue and can talk game about what they can do. And that's why their woman is supporting their dreams of a 40-year-old being in the studio trying to make a rap album.
well, here's the thing. She's
40%.
she's banking on that to get her out of whatever current situation she's in. We
I
got to
don't
think
so.
about that.
I honestly
Some
think that there
people
are a lot of women
associate
out
with
there
you
who
just so
no.
they can be on the ride when you come
that's
up.
Not all. That's not all women.
I'm
I'm
not
sure a
saying
lot
it's
of
all women, but I'm saying
but
that's
I'm saying that
some.
might be a few percentage. I'm sure there are a lot of women out there who genuinely given that man a chance, and nothing's happened. They've fallen short, and so they've set that standard so high to where I'm not falling below this line. I think that's not to. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
But wouldn't you think that would weed out potential suitors, good suitors?
I think it's plenty of good men out there who, work a 9 to 5. I would even say minimum wage, have decent men out there working minimum wage and are willing to treat a woman right within his wallet.
His means, right?
Within his means.
He
Absolutely.
would go out and work 2 and 3 jobs to support his lady.
Absolutely. I totally
And then
agree.
you got other ones who are already in that position and they won't cross a puddle for them,
Not at
So
all.
I just think it depends really on what you want. And like I said, a lot of people nowadays, they don't want to come in and build something from the ground up. They want to walk into it renovated. They want to be here whenever you've done all the work, you've put in all the effort, and now they just get to walk into a happy paradise, so to speak.
With
But
a
it's
fork in
just
their
funny to
hand.
me because I don't know, and we can talk about this a little bit later as well. But I don't know what the percentage is. But I'm telling you, nowadays it seems like women would not be with somebody if they're struggling, if they had a rough patch in their life. Like they will write them off as soon as
going
they
through
don't
it
check
currently?
some of those boxes. They will write them off.
You know, now that you said that, I did see an interview, and I totally disagree with it. A woman was saying, if you're poor, you shouldn't be dating, and I thought that was so wrong.
Oh yeah, I agree with that as well. Like that doesn't mean that person can't find love. I mean, like we've said before, broke love is true love.
Broke love is true love. Absolutely.
So when she's sitting up here saying that, that's just, to me, that's crazy talk.
And I
Like,
think some women have too high of standards.
of course, and there's
I
some
mean,
men
the
that
average-
have too high standards.
Yeah,
That's-
absolutely.
yeah.
The average man isn't 6 feet tall.
No.
You know, so I mean 6'6" and 6. I'm surprised it wouldn't be 6'6" and 8. You know, I mean there's there's nothing wrong with setting your standards. There's nothing wrong with setting your standards. It just sucks that I'm 5'10", but that's a whole nother situation.
Well, you know, whatever. You know, but the thing is, like I said, I just feel like when it comes to dating, I don't look at those standards. I look at the person. If they tell me what they got going on in their life and they're genuinely trying, they're genuinely chasing what they want, and they do have a plan for what they want to do, I'm cool with that. I mean, I'm cool with that. I just think there are some people who are out here who they set their standards at a certain standard, and if you don't check that box or check all those boxes, it's not happening. It's a no-go.
Well, they have the right to do that.
They do.
They have the right. They have the right.
And that's why there's a lot of lonely people out here.
Yeah, there are a lot of lonely people out here.
So
All right.
I'm just saying, when it comes to standards, I think all those boxes that we try to check, need to put those to the side, get to learn that person, get to know that person, and then make a decision after that. Because everybody has the potential to
But isn't
be.
that settling?
No, that's not settling.
I think that's settling.
No. It's not settling because you're getting to know that person. That's the whole point of dating. You're supposed to be getting to know this person, not getting to know what checklist that they check off.
Okay, so what you're saying is that if a woman finds a guy unattractive, she should spend time with him and see if
No.
she likes him from the inside out?
Because first of all, that initial meeting won't even happen. Like I said, most of these people are out here on these dating apps. So if you don't like the way somebody looks, you're going to swipe to the left.
That's right.
So that's not even going to happen. I'm saying you find somebody who's attractive, you like their little style or whatever they got going on, and if they tell you what they got going on, and you're like, well, I don't want to deal with that or whatnot, then guess what? You didn't get to know that person at all. That's when you're sitting up here, you're chasing a waterfall. You're not living in reality, because nobody out here is perfect. There's going to be something that somebody does that turns you off at some point. So, you know, you looking for this perfect person. They're not out here.
You're looking for Mr. Right Now and or Mrs. Right Now.
Yeah, because you can't, Mr. Right doesn't exist. I mean, our Mrs. Right doesn't exist. We're all people. We all have flaws. We all have been through life. Some of us are on higher game settings than the other people who are out here. And I just think you need to give people a chance when it comes to that. Everybody's situation is different. Don't disqualify somebody just because what they got going on currently. Like I've heard in songs, never know what that person might be tomorrow. I mean, you could go to sleep poor as Joe's turkey, hit the lottery that night, and guess what? You up 230 mil.
Yeah, but that's the shot in the dark. All right, you got anything else?
It could be, but it does happen.
Yeah, but I mean,
No,
it's
that's
still one in a billion. 1 in a billion.
Yeah, but we're talking about the lottery. I'm talking about normal things, like a person
hyperbole.
can work hard and get their business going, get their situation better. One job can change all that. one door can be open and everything can change for that person.
Yeah.
So, like I said, sometimes you missing the boat, and it happens from time to time. Oh, because you hear, I used to date so-and-so. Yeah, when he didn't have anything. Now he's a, CEO, or he's, a manager, or whatever you want to call it. He's successful. But you wasn't willing to actually take the ride with him. Like I said, you didn't want to build from the ground up. You wanted to walk in and renovate it.
All right, that's a good take.
All right. Well, like I said, I appreciate you. And this has been the Trash Talk and Tall Tales podcast. We upload on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So come check us out. My name is James.
And I'm Marlon.
And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you.